If I interview or talk to any product manager and they don't have that focus, for me, then it's a no. I've also mentored some people. Maybe pretty recently, and who's someone who said, "Oh, I'm really scared. I don't have a tech experience." And I was saying, "Well, the problem is you don't have a tech experience, but you don't need that tech experience. Do you have the customer focus? Do you understand what the customer needs? Are you able to transmit that information to the team so that the tech is providing the right solutions? To provide the best customer experience. That's what's more important."
It's one thing to get the job, and the next day you need to deliver. So you need to see that you have the fit and you can deliver and be up to speed very fast and be able to give a value.
You want to appear interested in the position, but an interview is a two-way street. It's not just you looking for a job, it's the job looking for the right fit. And if you aren't a good fit, it's also not in your best interest to take the job, because you're stuck for multiple years in a job that you may not be a good fit for a team that you may not work out in, and your life will not be fun.
What is really being asked is, how do you define what success looks like, and how do you stage up to achieve that success? And so if the interviewer is asking you to produce an artifact on the fly that suddenly the team is going to go and deliver, you're going down the wrong track. But I think they really want to see your process. So are you doing an analysis, and how are you framing the problem and conducting research and synthesizing the pains and the obstacles and the goals of the user, and building the confidence that you are building the right solution to address those pains?
You need to be very open to people, and people have to trust you and to feel good with you in order to come and share with you issues that they have. So, and whenever a product managers come and consult with you, I think that it's good that he will come with at least one solution that he has to an issue and alternatives, or maybe several alternatives, and then you can discuss it and to teach the product manager how to do the work better, but not to give them all the time the answers, just to give them the ability to learn and grow.
You can ask why, right? And you can set it out very logically, like, these are candidates A strengths, these are potential weaknesses I see. What are your thoughts? Candidate B, same thing. And then you can have a discussion. If you disagree, state your points, see what they think. At the end of the day, I mean, the answer may still be that your team doesn't agree with you, and if it's someone who rarely interacts with the person versus their hiring manager or their teammate, that's a completely different story. It really depends on the context, but sometimes you don't always win, right? You don't always get what you want, and that's just a fact of life. And at the end of the day, this person will be joining a team.
Most importantly, when you're hiring your very first PM, is to make sure that that PM gets interviewed. I call it interviewed in quotes, by the team.
You don't have to be a master of Sketch and Figma and Balsamic or the entire Adobe suite to be an effective communicator for the user. You can absolutely validate ideas with Sharpies and paper prototypes. And I would even argue that if you shape an idea with pencil and paper before even going to any of those digital tools, the crisper and the more focused you usually are on the idea and the solution.
Hello, leaguers, and welcome to today's Ask Me Anything session. So how do you build a hiring process that leads to a well-built product culture? Well, today on this Ask Me Anything session, we are going to talk about how to interview, hire, and manage product managers the right way. This is a very important piece of info on whether you're a product manager that is looking to climb up the ladder or an executive that is looking to build a winning product team. Well, you are the right place. We've got 4 talented, dedicated, and experienced product league mentors to answer all your questions. By the way, I'm Maria Cassis, founder and general manager of Product League, and we help you to become the best product manager you can be. Product League is the international product management mentoring program for product managers by product managers. And if you're new here, type new in the comments. I want to meet you. You should come by our weekly live Ask Me Anything shows every Tuesday. These are our little product parties. We want to hear from you, so please listen, engage, and ask questions. Use the chat to share your thoughts and questions with us. We want to get to know you better. So, are you ready to dig into it? Let's do that. Joining us live from New York, please welcome Denis Somar to the online stage, Senior UX and Product Management Consultant at Walmart and Product League Mentor. Denis is a seasoned product manager and UXer with technical skills and operational abilities who enjoys solving complex problems. Denis strives to operate in a healthy and scalable manner, putting data-driven decision-making and team collaboration as the foundation for success. His focus is on helping companies get organized and transforming ideas into robust products with as little friction as possible. Denis, is this the correct way to introduce you to the guys?
It's the best description of myself I've ever heard.
So happy to have you here with us. Joining us live from Tel Aviv, please welcome and shout out a big hello to Ronit Amitay, VP Products at Rihanna and Product League Mentor. Ronit is experienced in aligning business strategy and objectives with established business development and product management paradigms to achieve maximum operational impact. An innovative focused thought leader with a diverse background in workforce management, automotive, information technology, digital health, and finance. Ronit, is there a domain you do not have experience working in?
Yeah, I think that there are several, including cybersecurity. So yes, there is
impressive.
Yeah.
So happy to have you here with us. Joining us live from San Francisco, get ready to learn from Zara W, Senior Product Manager in the FinTech domain and Product League Mentor. Zara is passionate product manager with over 8 years of driving product strategy and 11 years leading cross-functional teams. With experience working in both startups and large companies, Zara's point of view of the product domain is holistic. Originally from Hong Kong and studied economics and business at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which Zara, this is actually very interesting because much of the content we are going to talk about has a lot to do with culture. And the fact that you're coming from 3 different, very distinct cultures is actually a very interesting point of view about the subject. And last but not least, joining us live from Paris, let's welcome Tolulope Ayeni, Lead Product Manager at Rexel Group and Product League Mentor. Tolulope is a product leader with over 11 years experience in building high business impact products and 7 years of leading agile and product teams. With a wide B2B experience across different sectors in large, medium, and small-scale companies, Tolulope drives product strategy, ensuring products provide both expected business value and best-in customer experience. So happy to have you here with us, Tolulope. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, it's so good to be here. Hello.
How are you today?
Very good. It's very sunny in Paris, so I'm very happy.
So, guys, we want to hear from you. So please engage and ask questions. Use the chat to share thoughts, questions with us. Everything that you want to share with us, we are here. We want to know you better and we want to know what is on your heart and what is on your mind when it comes to product management. If you want more tips, strategies, and how-to videos, articles, and everything product, please make sure to click like on the video and on our page so you'll be notified on future events. And you could join all of our product parties online. So it's going to be super interesting. It's going to be valuable. And we are starting now. One of you, to look for, we can't see you. I don't know why. Okay, so at the meantime, when she's taking care of her camera, I have a question to all of you. Okay, so some of the questions will be assigned to one of you. Some of the questions will go to all of you guys. So my first question that goes to all of you comes from Adva, who is asking, productizing is about prioritizing. What is the number one quality you are looking for when interviewing a product manager? This is a good one. So please jump in. Ronit, I challenge you to be the first one to answer.
Okay, I'll start. So hopefully I'm not bursting any bubble here, but I don't think that there is a silver bullet of one quality or magic quality of product manager that we cherish the more or value the most. As product manager is a very important function within the company because those people that are product managers needs to be multidisciplinary in many areas, which is taking the requirement, the business requirement, and then working with sales and with marketing and with the client themselves, and going back to the R&D and creating and just making sure that they understand the requirement in a manner that they can deliver the best build of product. So it's a combination of a lot of qualities, which is they need to be very good in communication, with analytical skills, and have intellectual curiosity, and they need to understand how to manage process and how to work with a lot of interfaces, and to make sure that everybody understands the context of the requirement that they are building, to be able to prioritize, to be able to understand what is important more and what is important less. So it's a very it of course depends on the stage of the company that the company is in. So, for example, when you are hiring a product manager for a startup company and you don't have a lot of resources, then you are depending on 1 or 2 or 3 product managers in the beginning. So they have to have all of the combination of those qualities, like doing the inbound processes and outbound processes, and sometimes they are doing even more. They are helping sales processes. They have to demo the applications. But when, for example, you're going and working with an enterprise company that has a very well-established product, and they already have the market fit, then this company, for example, is focusing on the next generation of the product, and it depends on different technology, then in those cases, you might be more focused on technical abilities that you're looking on. So it depends on the composition of the team that you have and on the stage.
But I'm going to challenge you. Yeah. Choose one. Prioritize. I'm product manager.
Maybe Zara can say something about it, because I think that it's a combination. It's a combination that then.
It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. Zara, what do you think? What is the number one skill or flavor that you are looking?
Yeah. So to your point, I will help prioritize, put them in a little bit of an order, and Denis, Tolulope, feel free to jump in and give your thoughts as well. I would say everything is important, but the number one thing a product manager needs to be able to do is you're in the middle, right? Of all these different teams, you talk with UX, you talk with the business side, you talk with engineering, and you have to be able to weigh all of the points of view and all of the requests that come at you, and you have to be neutral about it. You have to have some way to provide a logic structure to whatever problem you're solving and solve it in a very emotionalist way. For whatever's best for the customer. That's number one. You have to keep that in the front of your mind. And if you don't have that ability, you will not be successful in product management. So
drop the mic.
Pardon? Yes.
It's
not just that.
It's not going to be a good product manager.
I mean, again, this is my point of view. There are many qualities that a product manager needs to be successful. But if you're asking for number one, I would say that a product manager who always says yes will overpromise and underdeliver, and the product will fail. So
I love
that is number one in my book.
I love it. Tolulope, thank you for joining us. There was a problem with your camera, so you were off for a minute or two. We were asking, what is the number one quality that you're looking for when hiring a product manager for your team?
Well, actually, it's very straightforward. It's just customer focus. Customer focus, that's my number one quality. Why do I say that? Because I've seen a lot of product managers. I mean, as you all know, product management never used to be something taught in schools until I think 2019, last year, when University of Berkeley and Stanford University started teaching product management as a course. So I expect that most product managers do not have this. They didn't go to school to learn product management. So basically, I expect that some product managers would come from a design background, from a tech background, from I don't know, being business analysts, from being project managers, from being they would from being marketers. Actually, those are the most important fields I've seen product managers come from. And so, really, regardless of what they bring to the table, regardless of where they're coming from, the number one important thing that I expect a product manager to have is customer focus. So I want the product manager to be obsessed about pleasing the customer, obsessed about making sure that whatever experience we are giving to the customer is the best experience. So if I interview or talk to any product manager and they don't have that focus, for me, then it's a no. I've also mentored some people maybe pretty recently, and who's someone who said, "Oh, I'm really scared. I don't have a tech experience." And I was saying, well, the problem is you don't have a tech experience, but you don't need that tech experience. Do you have the customer focus? Do you understand what the customer needs? Are you able to transmit that information to the team so that the tech is providing the right solutions, to provide the best customer experience? That's what's more important. And of course, along the line, you would understand what the tech is, which is good. You get to understand when they talk to you, get to have better understanding. But I would rather you focus your attention more on, having a better understanding of what the customer needs and making sure that whatever product you're having is actually responding to the customer's need and providing the best customer experience.
This is good. We're here to provide value. Spot on. Perfect. Last but not least, Denis. What is your point of view about this question?
It's hard to follow up, but after Tolulope's answer, I mean, it was so spot on. I think I would say the exact same thing of being so to steal Tolulope's answer, customer empathy is the number one skill that I would recommend for any product manager to have. But if to dig at it a little deeper, I'd say the other thing is flexibility, right? So we hear this term of being a T-shaped generalist because you as a product manager are very often going between or collaborating between a lot of different disciplines. You're going from working and partnering with engineers to partnering with data science or UX and UI design, to the business and the stakeholders and the leadership and the customers. So being able to wear many different shoes at different times and being able to be a neutral voice of all the different disciplines and helping be the connective tissue between them, I think is probably the most important thing.
We are the glue that combines everything together.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's a great point. So the next question goes to Zara, but please, everyone, if you have anything else to share, we are more than want to know your thoughts about this question and issue. So Asaf is asking, there is a thin line between appearing eager and ready for the position and appearing pretentious. Where should this line be drawn? It's a very interesting one.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a little bit difficult to answer specifically for Asaf because I'm not aware of the full context. But in short, I mean, you want to appear interested in the position, but an interview is a two-way street. It's not just you looking for a job, it's the job looking for the right fit. And if you aren't a good fit, it's also not in your best interest to take the job because you're stuck for multiple years in a job that you may not be a good fit for a team that you may not work out in, and your life will not be fun and their life will not be fun. So you want to be interested in the position, but you also want to still evaluate in the back of your mind if this is where you want to take your career, if this is where you want to go, if this is who you want to go with. As well. So if you can kind of take a step back and have that conversation and make it a two-way street, I think that essentially nullifies, appearing pretentious, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, guys. Do you want to add anything? Okay, so we are moving to the next question. Goes to you, Dennis, and it comes from Dan, who's asking, I find this event as an opportunity to learn how to roadmap my career, so thank you for it. You're much welcome. Happy to have you here with us. With that in mind, do you think every interview should include a question about road mapping? And if so, how do you test one's ability to roadmap? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, so I think road mapping is a very generic question that comes up on a lot of interviews, but it's really, it deserves some translation, right? Because I think what is really being asked is, how do you define what success looks like, and how do you stage up to achieve that success? And so if the interviewer is asking you to produce an artifact on the fly that suddenly the team is going to go and deliver, you're going down the wrong track. But I think they really want to see your process. So are you doing an analysis, and how are you framing the problem and conducting research and synthesizing the pains and the obstacles and the goals of the user, and building the confidence that you are building the right solution to address those pains, I think is really what it is. And so should it be a part of an interview? I think for more experienced product managers, yes, because it indicates the process that you would usually use to decompose problems. If you are new to the product management process, realistically, you don't usually build a roadmap. You are usually executing a roadmap that is handed down from your leadership. So it's less insightful as a tool during the interviews.
Thank you. This was a great answer. Next question goes to you, Ronit, from another Asaf, who is asking, supposing that the interview is for a junior or a regular product position, should I appear to be knowledgeable in the product domain, even if I'm not exactly experienced in it, but have read a whole lot and delivered 2 or 3 products in my lifetime?
Okay. So first of all, it's always good to be knowledgeable and learn as much as you can, not only on the product methods, but as Zara said, look on the role description, see if it's something that fits to you, if it's something that you can, then, it's one thing to get the job, and the next day you need to deliver. So you need to see that you have the fit and you can deliver and be up to speed very fast and be able to give a value. So I think that to be humble and honest is really important while you are interviewed, because you are talking with your manager, with your next manager. And I think that people do value honesty. And if you have the potential, even if you didn't master something yet, then it's something that will appear in the interview, and it will help you in getting you don't want to get to a job that does not fit you. This is in conclusion. But I can even give an example for myself, because I think that because it's the best thing that I can say. Like, where in my career, in my previous jobs, I went to an interview in a digital health company. And then I did the product management before. But in the interview, I asked what are going to be my responsibilities. It was a startup company, and we were only 2 product managers that were reporting to the VP of product. And I was asking, okay, what I'm going to own. So he said, okay, you are going to have 2 domains. One is the web part of the web application. It was built as a feature team, so it was part of the web application and the engine. And you're going to do the mobile apps as well. So in the past, I have managed mobile apps, but it was a much greater company with a lot of resources. So I had UX and UI people working with me. So I didn't really define the wireframes and the mockups. I was working with the person that did it for me. And in the interview, I said, okay, I understand that this is something that I'm supposed to do, but just to let you know, I manage a mobile app, but I didn't do the mockups themselves, and it's not something that I feel like I'm very professional at this point. And he said to me, and it was good that I said it, because he said, we don't have UX and UI person dedicated in our company, but we are using consultancy company that helps us with that. So if you will need to consult, then we have bucket of hours that we can use. So for me, as somebody that came to interview, it first of all made me feel more comfortable, because I said where I am, what are my limitations for this stage, and he knew exactly what he is taking. And then after a month I think in my role, I said, we had one-on-one, and I said to my VP of product, I told him, listen, I think I want to master it. I want to be more professional at that. And he said, okay, so you can go and get a training. He just gave me a training. So I felt really comfortable to say to him that I need to get more expertise around it. And it was all up front. So I think that it's good to be honest, it's good to be humble, and it usually works.
Come as you are, product managers out there. We really want to get to know you when we interview you. Thank you, Ronit. Next question goes to Tolulope, and it comes from Taljit. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. How would you see these qualifications that you're looking for in one CV? Do you feel a CV can let someone shine?
Yeah, absolutely. I know whenever I look at a product manager CV, the CV is the very first thing that a recruiter is going to see. So if you cannot shine on your CV, then it's quite difficult to get that call that you actually need. Because when you apply to a vacancy post, the first thing you want to do is to get that call, to get that phone call. And it's only your CV that can actually get you that foot in the door. Okay, so what is the most important thing that you need to have in your CV in order to actually shine and make sure that the recruiter is going to give you that call when they look at your CV? I always ask my mentors and the people that I mentor to include what we call the profile summary in their CV. Which is basically something that says, what have I done? What skills, like concrete skills that I have, and what are the things I'm looking for? What's my next challenge? What's the new challenge I'm looking for? And then in the CV, you want to make sure that it's very concise and straight to the point, showing, okay, what have I done recently? It's very simple. What have I done recently? What have I achieved? Some people usually make this mistakes of trying to be humble and trying to say, okay, we did this, we did that. And it's actually difficult to understand what exactly you did and what exactly you brought to the table. So it's always important to go, I did this with this person to achieve this. So it's more like I worked with the UX designers to create mock-ups that we use for customer testing in order to validate $1 million product, something like that. So these are actually things that people can easily relate with, and things that people can easily understand. And any recruiter that's going to pick up your CV will definitely have that understanding. Other things that I think you can also add in your CV is what we call extra professional activities. Basically, I've had some mentees can add mentoring to that, for example, because it's also an idea to say, hey, I'm actually improving myself outside of the normal work activities. So I'm actually being better and making myself better. One of the other things that I know is important to also include, of course, your educational in the educational part in the CV. What I've also asked my mentees, for example, I've seen a lot of people that they did MBA or management of they went for like MIS or something like that. Usually they just put, okay, I did MBA and that's it. Actually, it's also interesting to include like the key things that you did during the course, like okay, during the MBA, we did like corporate strategy, we did like, marketing research, digital marketing, just like those key things that you need to put, include in the education aspect, in the education sector or section of your CV. So definitely CV is something that can definitely let you shine, and you should really, really invest in a very, very good CV, because that's, I mean, the basic thing that will get you that foot in the door, right? That's the basic thing that will make sure that, that recruiter is just going to pick up their phone and call you.
I'm so happy you mentioned this point that you just talked about, the, really tuning down into what is it that you did in the company, because it's so often when I'm hiring and interviewing product managers that they write it on their CV, oh, I've built that product that got to have, 7 figures in revenue by year 2. And then you need to tell them, okay, this is great, but what is it exactly that you did there? Who did you work on that with? Who was the stakeholder? Because it's never one person success. And you can't paint it this way. It's so wrong to paint it this way, actually, because not only because it's not true, because it also shows something about being, a team member and a team player. And most often we just don't do everything by ourselves, which is part of the fun, right? We're working on teams. So I'm so happy that you just mentioned it. Thank you very much. Okay, the next question goes, we're moving into the hire section. And just so you know, we have amazing comments and questions from the audience already, but we are not stopping there. So please, guys, whoever watching us, let us know your thoughts. Let us know your questions. The 4 magnificent mentors are here to answer your questions. So please let them know. What is it that you have to ask them? We're moving to the hire part of our event with a question from Amit, who is asking all of you, what will make you say no to a candidate? Zara, let's start with you.
Oh man, it's a tough one. I think it's a lot of factors. I don't think there's a short list of things that anyone goes in with and says, oh, if you do this, you're not going to get the job. I think a basic thing that candidates need to do is some research on the company and the job. If you don't know the type of company you're applying to work at, or what the job kind of entails, at least from the job description, if you haven't read like 1 or 2 of the most recent blog posts, have some sort of a basic idea. What that indicates to me is that you haven't taken half an hour to an hour to dedicate to just reading about what we do, who we are, etc. And that kind of speaks to your eagerness to join and your dedication once you do join. Are you going to spend half an hour, right? And an interview panel can have 6 people. That's 6 hours, right, of time that a company is spending to interview you. If you can't take half an hour to an hour just to do the basics, I think it's a big red flag. But again, there is no list that you have that you kind of check off necessarily. It is a full picture. Interesting.
Dennis, what is your point about saying no? What will make you say no to a product manager?
I think it would tie again to the things that we said were the tantamount requirements of a product manager. So if you are somehow showing that you don't have customer empathy, or you are devoid of it in some way, I have a hard time believing that you are a truly effective product manager. And in some ways, I think also it's really important to highlight how exactly you have collaborated with other parts of a team, how you worked with engineers, how you worked with UX designers, how you worked with stakeholders. I think that's really, really important. And if you can't communicate that effectively in a face-to-face or a web conference or whatever have you, that you won't be effective at communicating that when you're actually paid to do so.
Spot on. Ronit, what about you?
So as I heard from the rest of the panelists that there are a lot of factors, but I think that the big no-no is dishonesty and someone that I recognize that is not a team player. So and this is something that you can, the team player thing, you can ask question and understand if the person is collaborating or not. So the big no is for dishonesty and person that is not really a team player. Yeah.
Tolulope?
Yes. Well, actually, well, three important things for me. If the person is not just the right fit for the job, again, I think it was Ronit that mentioned that before. If you're not the right fit for the job, or the job is not the right fit for you, it's just unfortunate because I mean it doesn't make sense for you to force it, or for me to force it to hire you, because it's just not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for me or the company in the end. So of course, if I see that, I'm going to say, unfortunately, you're not the right fit, and I think you will be better in another kind of position. The second one, as you mentioned, also dishonesty. Like if whatever you have in your CV is different from what you're telling me. And I know sometimes during my interview, I ask probing questions outside of what you actually have in your CV to actually understand more the context. And sometimes, eventually you see that what they have written on the CV is quite really different from what they did. And of course, that's a big no. And then a third one is also the interpersonal skills. When I hire for my team, like there's already a kind of team spirit. There's a kind of team standard and the spirit that I would like every team member to come in with. And if somebody comes, if I see already that person has an issue with certain things, I already know that this person is gonna kind of hurt the team spirit, or is gonna hurt maybe the clients, the way they communicate with the clients. Then of course for me it's just a big no, because it doesn't make sense for us to hire somebody like that would just bring the team down. I know I've had recently when I had to talk with when I had to hire a new PM, and we talked, and he was saying I did this and did that and did that, and then I asked one question just to probe a little bit more, and the person actually kind of flared up during the interview. Well, he was a kind of low-key flaring up and all of that, but for me then it was a really big red flag, saying unfortunately I could not, because I'm going to have clients that are going to ask you numerous questions, maybe the same questions over and over again. I'm going to have team members that are going to, stakeholders that are going to ask you, hey, what's that thing on the roadmap again? Oh, or when next are we having this feature? They're going to ask you all over and over again. I don't want you having such attitude to actually legitimate questions that, were being asked in the interview. So, of course, I mean, no matter what level of experience that person had, seniority, I would definitely not hire that person, because he definitely would not be a good fit in that kind of team that we have and to fit into the team spirit. So, yeah.
I agree with you and everything you said. Cool. We are moving to the next questions. And this question goes to Denis, and it comes from Jonah, who is asking, to be a fantastic product manager, you have to have all three. But if you have to choose between three candidates where each master design, tech, or business, which one will you choose and why?
So I disagree with the premise of that question. So I don't think you have to have all three. You don't have to be a master of design or tech to be an amazing or fantastic product manager, however Jonah was describing it, right? And so you don't have to be a master of Sketch and Figma and Balsamiq or the entire Adobe suite to be an effective communicator for the user. You can absolutely validate ideas with Sharpies and paper prototypes. And I would even argue that if you shape an idea with pencil and paper before even going to any of those digital tools, the crisper and the more focused you usually are on the idea and the solution. If anything, trying to be a master of design and tech and business will lead to exhaustion and burnout, because we as product managers, we are supposed to focus on the why of something is being built and not necessarily the how. We are supposed to accelerate the how. So it is not for us to decide what engineering stack, what kind of API or GraphQL API or something is used to deliver a solution. There are sometimes constraints, and we help expose those constraints by communicating between all the different disciplines, but it's not for us to decide. or even try to be a master of. It's really just to be the connective tissue, as I've said earlier.
And sometimes it can actually get the atmosphere within the team very strange, when someone like comes from a very, very strong tech background, a very, very strong design background, and doesn't let the person who's in charge on this expertise to shine and to make decision, or to say, hey, I think that actually we need to do this way. But the product manager who's so tech or design or business oriented has their mind set on something. So actually, I agree with you. Actually, sometimes being a master actually makes your point of view linear. I'm sorry. So I agree with you, and thank you. Thank you for your answer. The next question goes to Zara, and it comes from Monica, who is asking as a fellow hiring product manager myself, what are your best tips to deal with a situation when you think one candidate is better than the other, but the rest of your team thinks otherwise? That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I'm assuming that after every interview, you guys don't just put your thoughts into a system. You actually have a conversation about it. And when you have a conversation about it, you can ask why, right? And you can set it out very logically, like these are candidates A strengths, these are potential weaknesses I see. What are your thoughts? Candidate B, same thing. And then you can have a discussion. If you disagree, state your points, see what they think. At the end of the day, the answer may still be that your team doesn't agree with you. And if it's someone who rarely interacts with the person versus their hiring manager or their teammate, that's a completely different story. It really depends on the context, but sometimes you don't always win, right? You don't always get what you want, and that's just a fact of life. And at the end of the day, this person will be joining a team. Depending on the size of the company, typically people move around the company, right? And if your company is telling you, hey, this person isn't a good fit, you can't just dismiss it. You have to listen and try to understand why. And maybe you're going with candidate B, or maybe you can state your points and they agree with them and you go with candidate A.
So it's all about communication at the end, even before choosing, the most promising candidate. Thank you very much for this answer, Zara. And the next question comes from Latifa and goes to you, Tolulope. As a CEO looking to hire the first product manager for my startup, congratulations, Latifa. This is a very exciting move. Can you share some tips about creating a good hiring process? Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I don't really know what kind of product your company is working on. So I don't have that much context on that, but I would say that when you're hiring for your very first PM, let's assume you're a startup. You want to make sure, first of all, that sometimes I say it starts from the vacancy post that you're gonna, put out there. I've had a lot of people hire someone without really stating exactly what that person is going to be doing and what the perimeter and the scope of that person's role, and then the person comes on and then the person gets really frustrated because it's really not clear. I've actually mentored some people like that, and the frustration is there at every mentoring session. So what I would say is make sure that your vacancy, you really take some time to think about what exactly do you want this person, this PM to take on, what exactly is the person's scope, is the person's role, and make sure you put that in the vacancy post. Let them know what they're going to be benefiting from joining your company, but also let it be clear what they're going to be doing. Then I think the next thing, of course, is to make sure, I don't know how many people you have in your team, but when you're hiring, don't let it be just you hiring. If you have an HR person, you want to make sure that person is talking to the candidates, giving you some kind of view about, okay, from their HR point of view, is there anything they could tell you about the candidate? And then you are hiring from a perspective, or you are interviewing that person from a perspective of, this is my role as a CEO, this is my vision for the company, this is my vision for the product, this is where I would like you to come in, and you're meeting that person, but also most importantly, when you're hiring your very first PM, is make sure that that PM gets interviewed. I call it interviewed in quotes by the team, because the thing is, if you just hire that PM, talk to the PM, interview, and then you just come and say, "Hey, you have your new PM, meet him, this and that," you're not really sure if this PM can work with the team. So sometimes what I do is that I just, depending on, of course, the level of seniority of the person they're hiring. Okay, I'm not gonna have an intern speak to a senior PM, but what I usually do is, depending on that level of the person's experience, I would have them, be interviewed or just have a chat with one of our existing team members. It could be the head engineering. It could be the one senior PM, junior PM, and then they would actually give you some feedback. And that feedback will actually feed into your hiring process, because then you now have a feedback from the HR. You have your own feeling, because of course, when you're going to be meeting with the person, whether personally, physically, or on the phone, or web, through a web conference, you would have your own understanding of, the level of experience or expertise of this person. And you would also have your team's feedback. And the good thing that's going to come from that is that when you hire somebody that you collectively agree is a good fit, you collectively agree is going to be a good team player. When the person gets into the company, he's going to hit the ground running, because, he now knows a lot of people, and, people are expecting him, because they're like, oh, that person we saw was a good fit. So when is he going to start? So it's really important to kind of, I think basically the main thing is carry everybody along, set up the process, so it's clear also for candidates, we are meeting with this person and then that person and that person. So the steps are kind of clear. Also make sure that it's clear when you're going to be giving them a feedback, because it's really not nice making candidates wait for a long time. So make it clear what the process is and how long it's basically going to take.
I have to highlight something very interesting. Almost all the answers we got from you guys, and this is fantastic, have two things in common. You talk about communication, and you talk about team building. So it's not about, just the hiring. It's about really building something bigger and valuable within the company, done by communicating the values and the tasks and the goals. This is the product manager job, right? To always make sure that we're talking goals and we are in line with that. So I just wanted to highlight this, and this is great. Thank you very much, Tolulope. Next question goes to you, Ronit, and it comes from Ben, who is asking, when hiring for a senior position, what do you value more, leadership skills or classic product management skills?
Okay. So I'll try to be short, because I know that there are a lot of questions and probably people posted more questions during the session. Also, of course, it's no-brainer that I would look for the classical product management skills, and it's includes leadership skills, because product managers usually do not have, they are not leading by authority, right? They are not the manager of the developer, but they need to earn trust and to be charismatic enough and to make sure that everybody goes with them in order to deliver. So this is part of the product management skills. But the other way around does not always work. So if I have a very good person in leadership, but he never practiced product management, not sure that I will put him as a product manager, the senior product manager. And I will give an example. If you will take Bill Clinton, which I think all of us think that he has ability of leadership. He was a leader of a nation. And I would tell Bill Clinton to go and to coach the Chicago Bulls instead of Phil Jackson. Then I don't think that they would get to the same position as they got with Phil Jackson, because you need to know how to coach. You need to know your domain as a product manager. So I think that my focus would be on the product management classical qualities, and it includes leadership qualities.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. We're just about to move to the third part of the session, talking about management of agile product managers, a very interesting topic. But before that, if you're new to Product League events, please comment, say, hey, I'm new, because we want to get to know you, and make sure to like this video and our page so you'll be notified about future events, because we're having fun with you and we hope that you are too. So moving to management, and this question goes to everyone here, coming from Leslie, who is asking, how do you evaluate a successful product manager? So we are talking about evaluation. Zara, let's start with you.
Okay. So I think Tolulope mentioned this much earlier on, but number one, you always have to keep the user in mind. A lot of times you are in a room where you are the only voice of the customer. Maybe you have your user researcher with you, which would be great. Some smaller companies don't have that, right? So sometimes that role falls on the product manager. So you need, number one is, I would say, a successful product manager brings the voice of the customer. It's also known as VOC, into the room wherever they go. And they listen to all points of view, and they take a neutral approach, saying, well, this customer A said this, customer B said this, et cetera, et cetera. It's not customer A said this, therefore we must do it, right? There is some logic and evaluation that goes on. But successful product managers have that one key thing in common, regardless of domain, right? FinTech, it doesn't matter, right? You can do a mobile app, you can do a web app, you can be in technology. It doesn't matter where you work. Number one is like bringing that voice of the customer wherever you go and advocating for that voice of the customer in the rooms you're in. Perfect.
Denis, what about you? What do you think is the right way to evaluate fellow product managers?
It's an excellent question. So I would think it would be on their success, if you will, in delivering the product that targets the pain of the customer or the obstacle of the customer the best. But product managers, majority of them do not get this right. We are not perfect, and we don't deliver perfect products. So I think that is closely coupled with also having established a process that realizes, okay, we made it to launch, and now we have to go deliver the next fast follow feature to go and round out what we've first delivered because of whatever budgetary or time or constraints that we're dealing with. So it's also acknowledging that the product manager has this process that can go and iterate and refine and add polish to things, because very often, especially in the kind of break it fast tech culture, we don't get it right the very first swing that we take.
So true. Ronit, what do you think? How to evaluate?
So many things, but I not lately. I just sat with someone that is he's a manager of a VC, and he said to me, you know what is really important in product management? And I said, what? He said, you have to be good listeners. And I think that it's coming back to what Zara says and what we're all saying. You need to work from the customer backward. You need to understand what are the needs. You need to understand what do you build and why. You need to do something that is common for most of the customers and not just working as this person that is C-level, ask that and that and that, to understand the user personas, someone that actually understands the market that he's working on and bringing, creating the best breed of products.
So true. Tolulope?
Yes, I know this is actually important, this evaluation part, because when I speak with my product managers, the ones that I manage, and it's actually also important for them to get feedback. And so there are just two things that we usually do is what did they do? what they in terms of products they've built, and what is the success of the product. So how many, what traction do they have? If it's a product, it's a feature. What's the traction of the product? What's the traction of the feature? But also, actually, equally important is the how did they do it? I think it's just like what you guys already said. Did they do user research? Did they do competitive analysis? Did they think about the data? Because we have analytics. You can check, okay, how has the previous product been used? What is the data that you can get from the previous product, and what data can you use to inform your decisions? As you're building the new products or the new features. So it's just basically the two of them. What did they achieve? Success, or okay, are they able to measure that success or not? Of course, like you said, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, we're there to fail fast and learn fast. But most importantly, how do they do it? And also, it comes back again to the team. How do they communicate? Do they talk to the right people? Do they give the right information to the right person at the right time? That's also equally important, because as a product manager, you're actually like a leader of the team. Even though you're not directly managing the team, you're also leading the team. It's important to make sure that at every point in time, the team is focused on the vision of the product and on the goal of the product too.
That's so true. So true. We are short in time. So when we do have another 4 questions in this section and more questions from the crowd. So I'm going to be a typical product manager and challenge you to answer shortly. Not because we don't want to hear everything that you have to share with us, because the opposite. We actually want to hear more and more of the wisdom that you are sharing with us. So next question goes to Ronit. This question comes from Armin, and I actually don't know if it's a male or female name. They're asking, when managing product managers, I find it harder to keep myself involved in the right amount and not to get into micromanagement. After all, I know how to do their job. How do you do that?
So it's difficult to, if you had hands-on experience as a product manager and you already did it for a long time, it's not an easy thing to free it up and say, okay, now you're doing the work, and I'm just giving you the processes and the tools and coach you. But I think that it's not a wise thing to do a micromanagement, because it doesn't really give you the time and focus to do the other things that you need to do as the manager of the product manager, like strategy. You have a lot of meetings with management. You have to think about the next generation of the product. You have as a manager to sometimes get all the noise that the products are getting from all of the interfaces that they are working with. You have to make sure that they don't have a lot of noise from. So it's a very complex thing, and if you will do the micromanagement, then it won't free you to do the right thing that you need to do. So I think that what helps me is to have a mechanism that instead of pulling the product manager with question, it will push me the data. So if it's by getting status calls with the meetings with the product managers when they are saying about what is happening with their product and what are their obstacles, or is it just using tools like Jira and other tools to say, okay, this was our target, and do we actually go there? Do we have issues? Do I see anything that is not really moving fast as it should? And then to interfere or do an intervention. I think that you need to be very open to people, and people have to trust you and to feel good with you in order to come and share with you issues that they have. So, and whenever a product managers come and consult with you, I think that it's good that he will come with at least one solution that he has to an issue and alternatives, or maybe several alternatives, and then you can discuss it and to teach the product manager how to do the work better, but not to give them all the time the answers, just to give them the ability to learn and grow. So I think that you should have like a safe zone with the people that you work in, so they will feel okay to come and tell you, okay, I have an issue, come and help me, instead of you all the time go and see, okay, do you have an issue? What are you working on now? And you have today a lot of tools for transparency. And I always like to I love to give some example for myself. So even now we have Jira and all of the tools that do things even easier. But in the past, I was sitting with a product manager that I was managing in the same room. And I felt like I don't really get to know what does he do. And I saw that he's playing all the time and things like that. So instead of asking him what does he do, I even used I think that it was Google Docs or something. I put a document there with tasks, and I said, listen, you have those tasks, let's discuss it, and then just mark it, check it as done or not. Or if you have an issue, then I will come and talk with you about it. So instead of asking him all the time, he had to fill it up, and I saw what is happening. So just put a mechanism there that will help you to understand what is happening.
Communication. It's a repetitive element here. Thank you, Ronit. Next question goes to you, Tolulope. It comes from Ronnie, and he is asking, can you share with us a case where good managerial behavior on your end enabled you to turn a situation from a failure to success, preferably one with other product managers you had to manage? This is a challenging one.
Yes, it is very challenging. I know I've had a lot of very interesting cases recently, especially with this COVID-19 situation. Okay, so I'll just get one. We had a conflict situation. So it was basically product manager having a conflict with a tech person. So, and it was typically you said this, you said that, and then there was no headway. Meanwhile, the client is waiting for the feature to be developed and shipped, but they were not clear yet on what was supposed to be developed, and it was really a big issue. Okay, they were already at loggerheads, of course, and nobody was going to talk with the other person. So it was very easy. Say, okay, talk to the product manager. Tell me what exactly happened. Give me the whole situation, everything. Let's know what was the issue. Sometimes it's that person was at fault because this. I'm like, okay, so that was the issue because this person didn't talk about this. Okay, do you think there's a misunderstanding? Oh, I'm not sure because okay, you're not sure. Did you communicate what was supposed to be done? No, but we had discussed it. Okay, so there was nothing written down. There was nothing communicated. Okay, so now let's go talk to the other person. The other person is, okay, what happened? And this other person, says, yeah, but it's not clear to me. I don't understand what exactly is happening. Again, communication issues, right? And bringing the two of them together after, talking to them one-on-one and saying, okay, now let's talk. The problem that we're facing is this. We need to get this out, shipped to the client at so date. This is a problem. How do we get there? What's the solution? Okay, the solution, what we're supposed to have done is, so of course they start giving the solutions. Okay, then I'm asking, have you done the solution? No, because we have these obstacles. Okay, so how can we remove these obstacles? And they're saying, okay, the way we can remove these obstacles is by doing this. And they start doing the analysis of what should have actually been done in the first place. And of course, at the end of everything, they're able to come up with a solution by themselves, come up with a solution and say, okay, so the next one, simply ask what is the next step? Or the next step is that we're going to do, we're going to make sure this is prioritized and we're going to make sure it's in the backlog and then we're going to develop it. And so I think I see some situations like this sometimes, and it's not sometimes, it's of course because of interpersonal issues, of course, but also, we're human beings. We always have conflicts, and sometimes it's just because of lack of adequate communication. So I don't know if I would say it's a best manager behavior, whatnot, but I do know that kind of focusing on the problem to be solved and helping this kind of guiding these people to come up with the solutions by themselves actually really helps to kind of remove that obstacle, immediately and, get us back on track.
I love it. Zara, John is eager to learn from you and is asking, any tips for moving up the ladder? Becoming the manager of other managers is not an easy task for me, and I will appreciate you sharing your thoughts with me.
Was that question for me?
No, this one was actually we just lost Zara. Oh, wow.
Okay.
But you know what, Dennis? This one is yours now. So, any tips for becoming the manager of other product managers?
It's a tricky one. I think, especially if you're in an organization that doesn't have a big enough team to have "quote unquote" management experience, right? But I think the real important dynamic, and I think Ronit was discussing it, is building an environment of trust and communicating how you are building this two-way street of trust and a communication of having a trustful way of communicating back and forth, good ideas and bad ideas. And so that's realizing that every person has the agency to decide how best to do something. It is not my place to tell an engineer how best to go build something. I have an opinion, and they may have an opinion that is of the same or different. If it's different, I want to hear it, and I want to try and understand from it. And I think it's imperative as you become a manager that you become more in tune to hearing others' opinions and counting them and making sure that they are not squashed and that there's a safe place to discuss them. As well as ensuring that what you're trying to deliver is actually getting delivered. But I really think that trust and communication and having that kind of safe space, meeting space, whatever it is an important part of being a people manager.
Super interesting. Unfortunately, we lost Zara, so we will continue just as four. And the next question is open to any one of you who wants to answer. It comes from Shani, and she is asking, I'm a senior product manager, but I'm the only product manager on my team. So I have zero management expertise, although I'm a senior product manager. How can I get this experience without actually managing others? Who is the brave one? Who has an answer to that? This is a challenging one. How do we actually get to be managers when we don't have people to manage on our team?
Well, let me go. Actually, first thing you need to think about is being a leader first before thinking about being a manager. So there's this age-long discussion and debate about what is a leader versus what is a manager. Okay, but so as a leader, what's important is you have the vision. This is where we want to go. Okay. And then you help guide people to make sure that we get to that goal. When people lose sight of the goal, when people lose sight of the vision, you're reminding them, hey, remember, we want to make 500,000 euros in Paris, 500,000 euros from this feature. Okay. Is the solution we are planning to do going to get us to that goal? No, let's look for another solution, So you train yourself to become a manager by actually, having these leadership skills. That's actually the important thing, having that leadership skill to kind of lead people to a particular vision, a particular goal. And then you develop your management skills little by little as you help direct people to the right path. Somebody is lost on the way. They need guidance. They need help. They just don't know what to do at a point in time. You're helping them find the solution. Actually, relating with people, developing those leadership skills and your interpersonal skills will actually help you manage people more. I know of one management expert that usually says that if you don't have a passion for people, then you don't have any reason or any point actually managing them. So for you to actually be able to manage people, you need to actually have that passion, have that need and ability. Maybe not ability, but that need and passion to want to lead people to the right direction. So first, develop your leadership skills. Try to help people to go to the right direction, and then you will discover that you have that affinity to kind of continue to lead people, and it's just a natural progression to becoming a manager.
This is wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your thought with us. We are just a little over the time we scheduled for this event, but we have some questions from the crowd, and I don't want to end this session without having at least one question answered. So with that in mind, we have a question from Asaf, and whoever wants to answer it, please feel free. So Asaf is asking, what is more important in your view, domain expertise or product management skills? Will your reply change between an entry-level position to a VP or Chief Product Officer level? So it's within product skills and domain expertise. Like for example, when I introduce you to the audience, Ronit, so you've worked in so many domains, right?
Yeah.
So you actually switch from one domain to another. That's quite a challenge because you had to learn so much about different industries.
Yeah, so I think that my I'm not going to be final that fast because this helped me sharpen my my skills of learning because I had to learn fast. I think that based on my experience, of course, having domain expertise is good, but it's going to give you head start. Like in the beginning, it's going to give you a better kickstart if you start in a new position in a new company and you already know the industry, you already know how it works. But I think that more important is to have the product management skills. As you saw here in this session, most of the people talked about communication, teamwork, I think analytical skills. I think, and if you're getting into a new company and you don't have the domain expertise of the business, then probably you can read, you can learn, I actually found myself once when I started working in the digital health industry. I registered to online course of in Stanford, and I learned. So you can learn from other people. In most of the cases, the CEO were doing the product management work before you came, so they can get you into it, and you can talk with customers and clients, and you can understand. And I think that this is something that you can learn. But if you don't have the basic things like the love for people, the love for a creative solution, the understanding of the client and the customer, then it won't really work. So this is something that you can learn. Of course, having both is super, but it doesn't really the case. It's not the case all the time. So it's more important to have the product management expertise.
Great, but I'm going to challenge you. Actually, Asaf challenged you. Do you think it's the same when we're talking about entry level or even director, level at a company and chief product officer or VP product? It's a challenging one. It is a challenge.
I can tell you that I can see people switch from a VP product in one industry to another industry. So probably it's a possible and doable. It depends on the person. Okay, it depends on how flexible he is, how eager he is to learn and listen. So I think that no, it doesn't really matter if it's entry level or senior level.
Thank you very much. Guys, we are just about to end the session. And now I don't have a clear question to you guys, but, I started challenging you, so I have to keep with this challenging method. If you want the audience to remember one thing that you guys share with us today, what will it be? Denis.
Don't lose sight of the customer's pains, their obstacles, their goals, and their objectives. Just sit and listen. And sometimes we have a hard time listening, and we have these magical devices that have video cameras in our pockets. So sit there and videotape or record the entire thing, and then go back and review it. And you will be surprised how much you can glean just from doing that.
Loving it. Tolulope, one thing that you would like the audience to remember from today?
Teamwork. I think I talked a lot about that. Teamwork in terms of hiring process, teamwork in terms of when you're working with your team as a product manager, teamwork in terms of when you're interviewing people. Of course, like I said, you can, don't be the only person interviewing. You should be many people actually exchanging and interviewing with people. And so I think for me, that would be it. Teamwork. As product managers, unfortunately, we cannot exist alone. We always, we always have to work with all different, designers, tech people, different stakeholders. So just remember that teamwork is very, very important, and the ability to work well in a team and to be able to kind of bring the best out of a team is, priceless.
Okay.
Spot on. Ronit.
Work from the customer backward, be a team player, and be creative. Think out of the box. Important.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Just a reminder, who are the talented, dedicated, inspiring product leaders that join us today for this session. So we had live from New York, Denis Somar, Senior UX and Product Management Consultant at Walmart and Product League Mentor. Joining us live from Tel Aviv, Ronit Amitay, VP Product at Triana and Product League Mentor. Zara, that unfortunately had to drop from the sessions, with Yanni, Senior Product Manager in the FinTech domain and Product League Mentor from San Francisco. And last but not least, joining us from Paris, live, Tolulope Ayeni, Lead Product Manager at Excel Group and Product League Mentor. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed us as much as I did, and the crowd and the audience did. And thank you for this, valuable experience that you shared with us. These are not easy days out there. Let's say it this way. Very challenging days. And on these days, just the feeling of the community and the experience that you are sharing with us, and the knowledge sharing is just heartwarming. And I much thank you for that, and looking forward to have you on next event as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.